When I found out what my classmate was planning to do, I decided to bug him about it every single day until he gave up. I overheard Tyler talking on his phone in the parking lot after school. I was loading my backpack into my car when I heard him say, "No, I've got it all figured out. 2 weeks from Friday. It'll be quick, and no one will know it was me until it's too late." My blood went cold. Tyler was quiet, sat in the back of our calculus class, ate lunch alone. He'd been increasingly isolated over the past few months. I didn't know what he was planning exactly, but I knew it wasn't good. I thought about telling a teacher or the principal, but I had no proof, just an overheard phone call that could mean anything. So I decided to do something different. The next day, I sat down next to Tyler at lunch. He looked shocked. No one had sat with him in months. "Hey Tyler," I said casually. "How's it going?" He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Fine," he muttered. Cool. So what are you up to? Any big plans coming up?" His eyes went wide for a split second before he looked down at his food. "No, nothing." I smiled and kept eating, making small talk about calculus homework. He barely responded, but I didn't care. I'd planted the seed. Every single day after that, I made sure Tyler knew I was watching. I'd sit with him at lunch. I'd ask about his weekend plans. I'd wave at him in the hallways. I'd text him about homework even though we'd never exchanged numbers before. I got his number from the class group chat. At first, he tried to ignore me. Then he started getting annoyed, asking why I was suddenly so interested in his life. I just shrugged and said I was being friendly. But I noticed things changing. He stopped carrying that black backpack he'd been bringing to school, the one that always looked heavy, like it was full of something. He'd take different routes through the hallways, like he was trying to avoid me. He started leaving school immediately after last period instead of staying late. Other people started noticing too. My friend group asked why I was hanging around Tyler so much. I made up an excuse about a group project, but Sarah, who'd known me since elementary school, pulled me aside one day. "What are you really doing?" she asked. I told her I couldn't explain, but I needed her to trust me. She looked worried, but nodded. Then Tyler started missing school. One day, then two, then three. I texted him asking if he was okay. No response. I drove by his house after school. His car was in the driveway, but all the curtains were closed. On the fourth day, I went to the principal's office. I told Vice Principal Ramirez that I was worried about Tyler, that he'd been acting strange, that I'd overheard something concerning. She thanked me for coming forward and said she'd look into it. That afternoon, Tyler came back to school, but he looked different, lighter somehow, less tense. When he saw me in the hallway, he didn't avoid me. He walked right up to me. "I need to talk to you," he said quietly. We went to an empty classroom. Tyler sat down and put his head in his hands. "You knew, didn't you?" he said, "about what I was planning." I nodded slowly, my heart pounding. "Every day, you were there, asking about my plans, making sure I knew someone was paying attention. Someone would notice if something happened." He looked up at me, and his eyes were red. "I couldn't do it with you watching. I kept pushing it back, telling myself, next week, but you were always there." And then I started thinking, maybe I didn't have to. My mouth went dry. "Tyler, what were you?" But before I could finish, the classroom door opened, and standing there was someone I never expected to see. The rest of the story is on my channel, or linked below. Vice Principal Ramirez stands in the doorway, her normally composed face tight with concern. Tyler freezes beside me, his entire body going rigid like he's been caught in a spotlight. The three of us remain suspended in that moment, Tyler and me sitting at the desk, Ramirez watching us with eyes that seem to know everything. "Tyler," she says finally, her voice calm but firm, "I think we need to have a conversation." Tyler's breathing becomes shallow, his eyes darting between me and the vice principal like a cornered animal. I feel the tension radiating off him in waves. "It's okay," I whisper, though I have no idea if that's true. Ramirez steps into the classroom and closes the door behind her. "I've been investigating you for weeks, Tyler," she says, pulling up a chair to sit across from us. "Several teachers reported concerning behavior, your sudden withdrawal, the change in your demeanor." Tyler stares at his hands. "You went through my locker," he says. "It's not a question." "Yes," Ramirez admits. "Yesterday, after your absence stretched to 3 days, we found evidence of explosive materials, components that shouldn't be in any student's possession." My stomach drops. Explosive materials, the heavy black backpack, the phone call about something happening 2 weeks from Friday. It all clicks into horrible focus. "I wasn't going to hurt everyone," Tyler says so quietly I almost miss it. "Just specific people. During the assembly, the one scheduled for 2 weeks from Friday where the entire school would be gathered in one place." I feel suddenly lightheaded. "You were planning to bomb the school," Ramirez states plainly. No accusation in her voice, just confirmation of facts. Tyler nods, tears welling in his eyes. "They've been torturing me for years. Nobody saw, nobody cared." His voice breaks. "Nobody except." He looks at me, and I see the realization dawning on his face, the same realization hitting me like a physical blow. My daily interruptions, my constant presence, my refusal to let him be alone. "You messed up my timeline," he says, a strange mix of resentment and relief in his voice. "Every day you were there, asking questions, watching me, I kept having to push it back, rethink things. Then I started wondering if maybe you didn't have to do it at all." I finish for him. He nods, tears now flowing freely. "Nobody's ever paid attention to me like that before, not in a good way. People only notice me when they want to shove me into lockers or dump my backpack in the toilet." Ramirez pulls out her phone. "I need to call the police now, Tyler." "I know," he whispers, suddenly looking very small and very young. As Ramirez steps to the corner of the room to make the call, Tyler collapses forward, his shoulders heaving with sobs that seem to come from somewhere deep and broken inside him. Without thinking, I put my arm around his shoulders. "I'm so alone," he chokes out between sobs. "Every single day, I'm so alone, it feels like I'm already dead, like I'm a ghost nobody can see." "I see you," I tell him, my own voice shaking. "I've been seeing you." "Why?" he asks, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Why did you start watching me?" "Because I heard you that day in the parking lot," I admit, "and I was scared of what you might do. But then I got to know you a little, and I was scared for you too." The door opens again, and Sarah stands there, her face pale. She looks at Tyler, at me with my arm around him, at Ramirez on the phone, and her expression shifts from confusion to understanding. "I knew something was wrong," she says, stepping into the room and closing the door behind her. "I found his journal in the library last week. He left it under a table. I read some of it before I returned it to Lost and Found." She looks at Tyler directly. "I was going to say something today if you hadn't come back to school." Tyler stares at her in disbelief. "You knew too?" Sarah nods. "The poems about explosions and silence, the list of names, the diagrams." She swallows hard. I didn't want to believe it, but Ramirez finishes her call and turns back to us. us. The police will be here in 5 minutes. Tyler, I need you to stay exactly where you are. Tyler nods, resignation settling over him like a heavy blanket. I wasn't going to go through with it, he says quietly. Not anymore. I think I knew that when I came back today. I want to believe him. Looking at his tear-stained face, I almost do. But then I remember the materials in his locker, the careful planning, the phone call I overheard. How close we all came to a day that would have changed everything forever. 2 weeks from Friday, I say. That's when you were gonna do it? He nods. During the spring assembly, when everyone who matters would be in one place. Everyone who matters, Sarah repeats. You mean the people who hurt you? They were going to finally see me, Tyler whispers. Really see me. The irony isn't lost on any of us. In his desperation to be seen, Tyler had almost done something that would have erased him completely, turning him into nothing but a headline, a statistic, another name on a tragic list. Instead, here we sit in this quiet classroom, waiting for the police, 3 teenagers and a vice principal caught in a moment that feels both like an ending and a beginning. I'm sorry, Tyler says, and I'm not sure if he's apologizing to us or to himself. Outside, sirens wail in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. The classroom door bursts open and 2 police officers enter, their hands resting cautiously on their holstered weapons. Vice Principal Ramirez steps forward immediately. He's cooperative, she says quickly. No weapons on him. Tyler doesn't resist as they handcuff him. His face is blank, almost peaceful, like some great weight has been lifted. As they lead him out, he glances back at me. Thank you, he mouths, and I'm not sure if he's thanking me for stopping him or for seeing him in the first place. The school's emergency system crackles to life overhead. Attention all students and staff. This is a lockdown. This is not a drill. Please remain in your classrooms with doors locked until further notice. Sarah moves closer to me as Ramirez locks the classroom door. Did you know? She whispers. About the bombs? I shake my head. Not exactly. I knew he was planning something for the assembly. That's why I kept bothering him every day. I was trying to, I don't know, disrupt whatever he was planning. Outside, chaos erupts as more police cars arrive. Through the window, I can see officers cordoning off sections of the parking lot. A van with bomb squad emblazoned on its side pulls up, and technicians in heavy protective gear emerge. They're going to his locker, Ramirez explains, her phone buzzing constantly with updates. The principal is coordinating a controlled evacuation. We need to stay put until they clear this section of the building. 20 minutes later, we're escorted out in single file, hands on the shoulders of the person in front of us. The hallways feel surreal empty except for officers positioned at every junction. As we pass Tyler's locker, I see it's been completely removed from the wall, leaving a gaping hole. Outside, the scene is even more chaotic. Students huddle in groups on the football field, many crying, others frantically texting. Teachers move between clusters, trying to maintain calm. Principal Hoffman stands on a small platform with a megaphone. The assembly scheduled for 2 weeks from Friday has been canceled due to maintenance issues, he announces, his voice betraying the absurdity of the cover story. Please remain with your assigned teachers until dismissal procedures begin. But it's too late for damage control. Phones buzz throughout the crowd as rumors spread like wildfire. They found bombs in Tyler's locker. SWAT team is searching the whole school. Someone said he had a hit list. My friend group spots me and Sarah across the field and rushes over. Jess reaches me first, her eyes wide. What happened? Everyone's saying you were there when they arrested Tyler. Before I can answer, Ethan cuts in. Did you know he was planning to shoot up the school? Not shoot. I correct automatically. Bombs. He was planning to bomb the assembly. Their faces go pale as my words sink in. I look at their shocked expressions and realize they're waiting for me to explain. I suspected he was planning something dangerous. I admit, that's why I've been sitting with him every day. I was trying to. I don't know. Keep an eye on him. Why didn't you tell anyone? Jess asks, her voice rising. We could have all been killed. Sarah steps forward. I found his journal in the library last week, she says. It had poems about explosions and diagrams. I was going to report it today if he hadn't come back to school. A teacher approaches us. The principal needs to see both of you, she says, pointing to Sarah and me. Immediately. In the administrative offices, the normal bustle has been replaced by grim-faced police officers and school officials speaking in hushed tones. Through the glass partition, I see a couple I recognize from Tyler's Facebook profile, his parents. His mother is sobbing into a tissue while his father stares blankly at the wall, his face ashen. Principal Hoffman ushers us into his office where 2 detectives wait. For the next hour, we answer questions about Tyler, his behavior, his comments, the journal Sarah found, my daily interactions with him. So you deliberately sought him out every day? One detective asks me. Yes, I reply. After I overheard him on the phone talking about something happening in 2 weeks, he carried this heavy black backpack everywhere, and I had a feeling something was wrong. And you didn't report these concerns? Principal Hoffman interjects, his tone suggesting I'm somehow at fault. I didn't have proof, I say defensively. Just a feeling. And then he stopped bringing the backpack after I started talking to him every day. The questioning continues until my parents burst into the office, my mom's face streaked with tears. She pulls me into a crushing hug. We saw it on the news, she says, her voice breaking. They're saying a student planned to bomb the school. Then the school called saying you were involved somehow. Not involved, the detective clarifies. Your child may have prevented a mass casualty event. My dad puts his hand on my shoulder, squeezing so hard it almost hurts. You could have been killed, he whispers. As we leave the office, news vans line the street outside the school. Reporters thrust microphones toward parents and students, hungry for sound bites about the tragedy that almost happened. Police officers interview students in small groups, collecting statements about Tyler's behavior. The principal's voice comes over the PA system one last time. Due to today's events, school will be closed tomorrow and Friday for a thorough security assessment. Counselors will be available when classes resume on Monday. In the car ride home, my phone buzzes constantly with messages from classmates I barely know, all asking the same questions. Did you really stop a bombing? What did Tyler say? How did you know? I turn my phone off and lean against the window, watching my school grow smaller in the distance. 2 days ago, my biggest worry was a chemistry test. Now I'm wondering if Tyler would have gone through with his plan if I hadn't interfered, if my daily interruptions really did save lives, or if he was already having second thoughts. And underneath it all, a question I can't shake. How many other Tylers are out there, invisible until it's too late? The metal detectors are new, so are the 4 security guards stationed at the front entrance, scanning backpacks with grim efficiency. As I walk through the front doors of school on Monday, everything feels different, heavier somehow, like the air itself has changed density. curiosity. Welcome back, says a counselor I don't recognize, handing me a blue pamphlet titled Recognizing Warning Signs, a guide for students. I stuff it into my pocket without reading it. The hallways buzz with a strange energy as I make my way to first period. Conversations halt when I pass, then resume in urgent whispers once I'm a few steps away. I catch fragments. The bomber kid could have killed everyone. Can you imagine if Sarah finds me at my locker, her face drawn with exhaustion? Did you sleep at all this weekend? She asks. Maybe 3 hours total, I admit, spinning my combination lock. You? Not really. My parents made me talk to some crisis counselor on Saturday. She leans against the lockers. They're saying Tyler had enough materials to kill half the school. I try to picture it, the assembly, the explosion, the aftermath, but my mind refuses to fully form the image. It's too enormous, too horrible to comprehend. First period is English, and I freeze in the doorway when I see it. Tyler's empty desk. Someone has placed a small bouquet of wildflowers on it, along with several folded notes. It's like a memorial for someone who died, except Tyler isn't dead. He's just gone. What the hell is that? I whisper to Sarah, nodding toward the desk. It started this morning, she says. Some of the theater kids did it. They're saying Tyler was misunderstood, that the system failed him. He was planning to bomb the school. I hiss, loud enough that several heads turn in our direction. I know that, Sarah says, pulling me toward our seats. But people are taking sides. Check your phone. During the teacher's distracted attempt at a normal lesson, I scroll through my messages. There are dozens from numbers I don't recognize. You betrayed Tyler when he trusted you. Hope you're happy. Tyler was the victim here. You just made it worse. Snitch. You should have minded your own business. But there are others too. Thank you for saving our lives. My little sister would have been at that assembly. I owe you everything. You're a hero for what you did. I look up to find half the class staring at me with expressions ranging from admiration to contempt. The division is palpable. Team Tyler versus team everyone else. I belong to neither, caught somewhere in the uncomfortable middle. After school, Sarah and I visit the juvenile detention center where Tyler is being held. The process is intimidating: metal detectors, ID checks, pat-downs, and a long list of rules recited in a monotone by a guard who looks like he said the same words 1,000 times. When Tyler enters the visitation room, I barely recognize him. His face is pale, his hair unwashed, and he's wearing a baggy orange jumpsuit that makes him look even smaller than usual. His eyes light up when he sees us, then immediately darken with something like shame. You came, he says, sitting across from us at the metal table. Of course we came, Sarah says, her voice gentler than I've ever heard it. Tyler looks at me, his expression unreadable. Why did you come? To see the freak in his cage? That's not fair, I say. I came because I was worried about you. He laughs, a hollow sound that bounces off the concrete walls. Worried about me, or worried I might still be dangerous? Both, I guess, I admit. Something in my honesty seems to reach him. His shoulders slump, and suddenly he looks exhausted. I keep going back and forth between being grateful and hating you, he says, sometimes in the same minute. I understand, I tell him, though I'm not sure I do. No, you don't, Tyler says, leaning forward. You have no idea what it was like, every single day for years. He rolls up his sleeve to reveal a series of circular burn marks. My dad's cigarettes, he explains flatly. When I got a B+ instead of an A, when I talked too much at dinner, when I existed in his space. Wrong, Sarah gasps softly beside me. The bullying at school was just the cherry on top, Tyler continues. Did you know Jason Peters broke 2 of my ribs last year? I told the nurse I fell during gym class. No one questioned it. He pulls up his pant leg to show a jagged scar. That's from when 3 guys from the football team caught me behind the gym. They used a broken bottle, said they were carving their initials into the fag. My stomach turns. Why didn't you tell anyone? I told Vice Principal Ramirez, Tyler says bitterly. She said boys will be boys, and I should try not to provoke them. My parents never even noticed I was limping for weeks. Sarah wipes tears from her eyes. I had no idea it was that bad. No one did, Tyler says, or no one wanted to, until I became the monster everyone could finally see. The guard announces our time is almost up. Tyler looks at me directly. The thing is, I really wasn't going to go through with it. Not after you started talking to me. It made me realize I didn't want to hurt people who hadn't hurt me. His voice breaks. But no one will ever believe that now. As we're leaving, he calls out, my preliminary hearing is next month. Will you come? We'll be there. I promise. Back at school, the administration holds a mandatory assembly about recognizing warning signs. The irony isn't lost on anyone, as Principal Hoffman drones on about reporting suspicious behavior while completely avoiding any mention of the bullying that pushed Tyler to his breaking point. When he finishes, I raise my hand. What about the students who physically assaulted Tyler? The ones who broke his ribs and cut him with a bottle? What consequences are they facing? A uncomfortable silence falls over the auditorium. Principal Hoffman clears his throat. Those are unsubstantiated allegations that have nothing to do with the current situation. They have everything to do with it. I stand up, my voice shaking. You're talking about warning signs while ignoring the actual problems. Tyler showed me scars from being tortured at this school while teachers and administrators look the other way. That's enough, Hoffman says sharply. See me after the assembly. But I'm not the only one who's had enough. Sarah stands up beside me. No, it's not enough. This school failed Tyler, and now you're trying to pretend none of it happened. One by one, other students stand, mostly the quiet ones, the ones who know what it's like to be invisible. By the time the assembly ends, Sarah has organized a walkout for the following day, demanding accountability from both the administration and the student bullies who were never punished. In the principal's office, I'm told my outburst was inappropriate and disruptive. I'm given detention for a week. Worth it, I tell Sarah as we leave the building. Someone had to say something. That night, I stare at my ceiling, thinking about Tyler sitting alone in a detention cell, about the scars hidden beneath his clothes, about the years of suffering that went unnoticed, until it almost exploded into tragedy. I think about how easy it is to miss the pain of others, to dismiss their silent cries for help as awkwardness or antisocial behavior, how we only pay attention when someone does something dramatic enough to force us to see them. And I wonder how many other invisible people are walking these halls, carrying their own heavy backpacks full of pain, just waiting for someone to notice before it's too late. 6 months after that day in the classroom, I'm sitting across from Tyler in the common area of Pinecrest Residential Treatment Center. The facility is nothing like I imagined, no institutional green walls or barred windows. Instead, it's all warm wood tones and natural light, more like a mountain retreat than a place where troubled teens get treatment. They diagnosed me with PTSD, Tyler tells me, fidgeting with the sleeve sleeve of his sweater. From years of abuse, not just at home but at school too. My therapist says I've been living in survival mode since I was 10. I nod, trying to hide how much this information still hurts. 6 months of weekly visits, and each revelation about Tyler's past feels like a fresh wound. How's the new medication working? I ask, noticing he seems calmer today. Better than the last one. I can actually sleep through the night now. He glances around at the other residents engaged in quiet conversations or board games. It's weird having people actually care if I'm okay. The staff here checks on me even when I don't ask for help. This is my 12th visit to Pinecrest. Sarah comes with me when she can, but today she's running the peer support group we started at school. Hope Speaks meets every Thursday during lunch period in Miss Grood, Calloway's classroom. We started with 5 members. Now we have 23. Things are different at school. I tell Tyler. Principal Hoffman resigned last month after the district investigation. Turns out he'd buried at least 7 formal complaints about bullying in the last 2 years alone. Tyler's eyes widen. Seriously? He's gone? The school board asked him to resign or be fired. They found emails where he told staff to handle things internally instead of documenting incidents. Vice Principal Ramirez is interim principal now. Ramirez? Tyler looks surprised, but she ignored me when I told her about the bullying. She's different now. I think what happened with you scared her straight. She implemented this whole anti-bullying program with actual consequences. Jason Peters got suspended for 2 weeks after they confirmed he was the one who broke your ribs. Tyler stares at his hands. Too little, too late. I know, I say softly, but it's something. The truth is, school culture has shifted dramatically. The metal detectors are still there, but now there are also counselors available every day. Teachers have been trained to recognize warning signs of abuse and bullying. Students can anonymously report incidents through an app that guarantees follow-up within 24 hours. Some of the guys who bullied you tried to apologize to me. I tell Tyler, remembering the awkward encounters in the hallway. Like somehow that would make everything okay. What did you say to them? I told them to donate to mental health charities and actually change their behavior. Their apologies felt empty, like they just wanted to feel better about themselves. Tyler nods. My therapist says people often apologize to relieve their own guilt, not to help the person they hurt. A staff member announces that visiting hours will end in 15 minutes. Tyler reaches into his pocket and pulls out a folded piece of paper. I wrote you something, he says, sliding it across the table. My therapist suggested it might help. I unfold the letter, scanning the neat handwriting. I don't know how to thank someone for saving my life when I didn't want to be saved, but I'm trying to be grateful now. Those 2 weeks when you kept interrupting me at first, I was so angry. You were ruining my timeline, making me question everything. But each day you talked to me, I had to reconsider. What if someone actually saw me? What if I didn't have to make them see me through destruction? My therapist says your daily attention created cognitive dissonance that made it harder for me to go through with my plan. Every conversation made the people at school seem more real, less like targets. You gave me time to reconsider the consequences. I don't think I would have stopped without your interference. I'm sorry, and thank you aren't enough, but they're all I have right now. I look up, my vision blurring. Tyler, my therapist confirmed it. He says quietly, what you did probably saved lives. She says small daily interactions can disrupt harmful thought patterns. You being there, seeing me, it mattered. I've spent months wrestling with guilt, wondering if I should have reported my suspicions sooner, wondering if my daily interruptions were really enough, or if I just got lucky. I should have said something to someone. I admit, I knew something was wrong. Tyler shakes his head. If you'd reported me right away, I might have accelerated the timeline, done it sooner, before anyone could stop me. Your way just being there that worked better than anything else could have. As I leave Pinecrest, I check my phone to find a message from Sarah with a photo of our peer support group gathered around a newly planted garden on the east side of the school campus. The sign reads, Memorial Garden for the Tragedy That Never Happened. It was Sarah's idea, a place to remember how close we came to disaster without glorifying what almost occurred. The garden features a bench where students can sit when they need a moment alone, and a small plaque that simply says, see each other. Tyler's progress report from his treatment team shows genuine improvement. His therapist believes he could transition to outpatient therapy within 6 months, possibly even return to a different school next year with proper support. I think about the heavy black backpack he used to carry, how it disappeared after I started talking to him each day. I think about the assembly that never happened, the lives that weren't lost, the headlines that weren't written, and I realize that sometimes salvation doesn't come through grand heroic gestures. Sometimes it comes through simple daily attention, through the radical act of seeing someone who feels invisible, of interrupting their isolation with ordinary human connection. The thing about prevention is that you never really know what you prevented. You can only move forward, carrying the weight of what might have been while trying to build what could be instead. As I drive home from Pinecrest, I make a mental list of the quiet kids at school I've never really noticed. Tomorrow, I'll start by learning their names.